Right now, teachers are spending up to 50% of their working hours on administrative tasks, lesson planning, and assessment, time that could be spent actually teaching students. Today, we're diving into how AI is revolutionizing education by giving teachers their time back, what the most successful implementations look like, and practical workflows you can start using this week. By the end of this episode, you'll understand how to integrate AI ethically into your classroom and why this might be the biggest shift in education since the internet. So let's start with the big picture here. What's actually happening with AI in schools right now?
The numbers are pretty striking. According to recent research, roughly 83% of K-12 educators are already using generative AI in some form, and the global AI in education market has surged past $9.5 billion. But here's what's interesting. Most of this adoption is happening in a fragmented way, without clear policies or systematic approaches.
Wait, 83%? That's way higher than I expected. But you're saying it's fragmented. What does that look like in practice?
Exactly. Teachers are experimenting on their own, often using tools like ChatGPT or Claude to generate lesson plans or create worksheets, but without institutional support or guidelines. It's like having a powerful tool but no instruction manual, and that creates both opportunities and risks.
So what does good AI integration actually look like? Are there schools getting this right?
There are some fascinating case studies emerging. Take Oak National Academy in the UK. They implemented AI tools for lesson planning and quiz creation with government backing. Teachers reported saving up to 5 hours per week, which meant more time for direct student interaction and higher quality resources.
5 hours a week? That's like getting an entire day back.
Right. And what made their approach successful was that they didn't treat AI as a one-off training event. They embedded it into existing routines through what they called micro-sessions and collaborative planning. They even identified AI captains to support their peers.
I love that, AI captains. It sounds like they made it a community effort rather than just dropping technology on teachers.
Exactly. And there's an even more impressive example from Brisbane Catholic Education in Australia. Their Copilot rollout reached over 12,500 educators and staff, and now up to 80,000 students have the opportunity to learn with AI. Students used it to brainstorm and develop ideas, while teachers experienced notable time savings on administrative tasks.
Okay, but I have to ask, when we're talking about AI helping with teaching, what's the actual framework here? How do you make sure the human element doesn't get lost?
That's the crucial question. The most successful implementations follow what's called a human AI-human framework. It starts with human inquiry, uses AI as a tool, and always ends with human reflection, insight, and empowerment. The teacher remains the director of the process.
So it's not about replacing teachers, it's about amplifying what they do best.
Precisely. And this shows up in really practical ways. For lesson planning, AI can generate 3 activity options plus a formative check in about 15 minutes. But the teacher still chooses, cuts, and adapts based on their knowledge of their specific students.
Let's get into the specifics. What are the most useful applications teachers are finding?
Differentiation is huge. Instead of creating 30 different lessons, teachers can use AI to generate scaffolds and extensions while keeping the same rigorous learning target. You might ask AI to create 3 scaffolds and 2 extensions for a task, and it can flag any scaffold that actually lowers rigor.
That's smart, maintaining the rigor while varying the access. What about assessment?
AI is really powerful for assessment design. You can ask it to create 6 exit ticket questions, 2 recall, 2 application, 2 transfer, and include likely misconceptions with a 1-sentence reteach move for each. It's like having a teaching assistant who never gets tired.
And feedback. That seems like such a time sink for teachers.
The safest pattern is AI suggests, teacher decides. You can give AI a rubric and sample work, and it can draft feedback comments. But the teacher always makes the final call on tone, accuracy, and developmental fit. It's about strengthening feedback, not avoiding reading student work.
I'm curious about the student side of this. How are students actually using AI, and what should teachers know about that?
This is where it gets really interesting. Recent research from Australian universities surveyed almost 7,000 students and found that half were already seeking feedback from AI. Students valued it for ease of access, timeless, and that it felt less risky than asking teachers for help.
Less risky? That's fascinating. But I imagine there are concerns about quality?
Absolutely. Students still reported teacher feedback as more helpful and especially more trustworthy. They were concerned about AI's reliability and its lack of contextual and disciplinary expertise. The research concluded that AI and teacher feedback serve different needs. They're complementary, not interchangeable.
So it's not about replacement, it's about having different tools for different purposes.
Exactly. And this is where teacher guidance becomes crucial. Students need to learn when to use AI as a study coach for hints and practice questions versus when they need human expertise for complex feedback and critical thinking.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. What are the risks and ethical considerations here?
The big four are bias, privacy, accuracy, and over-reliance. For bias, you have to ask who might be missing or stereotyped in AI outputs. For privacy, you never paste identifiable student data into unapproved tools. For accuracy, everything needs verification from reliable sources.
And over-reliance, that seems like the trickiest one to manage.
It really is. The key question is, are students still doing the thinking? AI should nudge thinking, not do it for them. One effective approach is having students copy one AI response into their notes and explain what they accepted, changed, or rejected.
That's a great way to keep the learning process visible. What about the broader policy implications?
The European Council just released guidance calling for a human-centered approach to AI in education. They're emphasizing that teachers should remain at the heart of the learning process as guides, mentors, and critical thinkers who help students navigate the digital world.
It sounds like there's recognition at the policy level that this needs to be done thoughtfully.
Absolutely. And they're calling for strengthening teachers' AI and digital skills, promoting education-specific AI tools, and ensuring AI enhances rather than undermines teacher autonomy and working conditions.
You know what's interesting? This reminds me of how we're drawn to complex narratives in entertainment, like how Darth Vader merchandise outsells Luke Skywalker. AI in education is creating similarly complex stories where teachers become the heroes navigating new technology.
That's such a great analogy. And just like Netflix found that shows with morally complex protagonists have 40% higher completion rates, teachers are finding AI tools more engaging when they preserve the complexity of teaching rather than trying to oversimplify it.
So what does this look like practically for a teacher who wants to start using AI this week?
Start small with low-risk workflows. Try a 15-minute planning sprint where you input your learning target and constraints, get 3 activity options, then choose and adapt. Or do a 10-minute exit ticket builder, input today's objective and a common misconception, get 6 questions with likely wrong answers.
Those sound really manageable. What about the technical side? Do teachers need to become prompt engineers?
Not really. The key is thinking like a teacher giving directions for a task. You want to specify role, context, criteria, examples, and ask AI to check its assumptions. Something like, act as a grade 4 math coach. Students know arrays but not area models. Create 3 questions, 10 minutes, no calculators.
That makes sense. It's just good instruction, but for AI instead of students.
Exactly. And there's something really powerful happening here that I think gets overlooked. Research from Delhi found that AI integration fundamentally reshapes teachers' professional beliefs and sense of agency. It's prompting ongoing renegotiation of pedagogical identities.
That's profound. So this isn't just about new tools, it's about teachers redefining what it means to teach.
Right. And the most successful teachers are those who embrace AI's potential while expressing deep concerns about student overdependence. They're simultaneously optimistic and cautious, which is exactly the kind of critical thinking we want to model for students.
What's counterintuitive to me is that AI seems to be making teaching more human-centered, not less.
That's such an important insight. By handling routine tasks, AI is freeing up time for the relationships and critical thinking that only humans can provide. Teachers at Basingstoke College of Technology saved an average of 5.1 hours per week, which meant more time for actual teaching and student support.
And I imagine that's especially important given the current state of teacher workload and burnout.
Absolutely. The average K-12 teacher works 49 hours a week, with about a quarter of that time uncompensated. A Rand Corporation survey found that just 24% of teachers were satisfied with their weekly hours, and 66% said their base salary was inadequate. AI won't fix compensation, but it can help with work-life balance.
Those numbers are sobering. So AI becomes a tool for sustainability in the profession.
Exactly. And what's encouraging is that teachers are leading this transformation. The most successful implementations aren't top-down mandates, they're teacher-led initiatives where educators experiment, share what works, and build communities of practice around AI use.
What about concerns that AI might widen educational inequalities?
That's a real risk. The European Council specifically mentioned concerns about unequal access to digital resources and how AI could exacerbate disparities between well-funded and under-resourced districts. But there are also examples like Conmigo, which is entirely free for U.S. educators and students.
So it's about ensuring equitable access to these tools.
Right. And it's about making sure AI enhances rather than replaces the human elements that make education meaningful. The most successful schools are those that connect AI to real priorities, reducing workload, improving feedback, supporting differentiation, and helping students move beyond recall into evaluation and synthesis.
Looking ahead, what do you think the biggest opportunities and challenges will be?
The biggest opportunity is that AI could fundamentally change how we think about personalized learning. Instead of one teacher trying to differentiate for 30 students, AI can help generate multiple pathways while the teacher focuses on facilitation and relationship building.
And the challenges?
The biggest challenge is maintaining student agency and critical thinking. There's a risk that students become passive consumers of AI-generated content rather than active learners. We need to teach them to question, verify, and think critically about AI outputs.
It sounds like digital literacy becomes as important as traditional literacy.
Absolutely. And that's where teachers become more important, not less. They're the ones who can help students understand when to trust AI, when to question it, and when to switch it off altogether. That's uniquely human expertise.
So when you step back from all this, what's the real transformation happening here?
We're seeing a shift from teachers as information deliverers to teachers as learning facilitators and critical thinking coaches. AI handles the routine work, and teachers focus on the complex, creative, and relational aspects of education that require human judgment.
And that actually makes the profession more intellectually demanding, not less.
Exactly. Teachers need to become AI literate while maintaining their pedagogical expertise. They need to understand both the possibilities and limitations of these tools. It's a more complex role, but potentially a more rewarding one.
For teachers listening who want to take action, what's the one thing they should do this week?
Choose one low-risk workflow and try it with your next lesson. Maybe use AI to generate 3 different ways to explain a concept, then pick the one that fits your students best. Bring that example to your team and start a conversation about what worked and what didn't.
And remember, you're not just adopting a new tool, you're participating in a fundamental shift in how education works, where human relationships, care, and professional judgment remain the core technology of teaching. AI is just there to amplify what you already do best.
That's beautifully put. The future of education isn't about humans versus machines, it's about humans with machines, working together to create learning experiences that were never possible before.